Welcome back, everyone, to the Preparing for Genealogy Research Success mini e-course. Now, in lesson 1, we talked all about brainstorming and creating those to-do lists that are going to get you started and to help you stay on track as you proceed through your research. Well, today we're moving on in lesson 2, and we're going to be talking about how to make smart and efficient research goals. Let's get started, guys. Okay, are you struggling to find your ancestors because you are distracted and heading down rabbit trails when you research? Well, successful genealogy research requires setting the right goals. And with those right goals, you can create your research plan with confidence. Okay, so as you begin to think about that next research project that you're working on, I want you to ask yourself a few questions first. What is it you want to learn from your research? Why are you doing this research? Are you looking for evidence Are you looking for the evidence of your ancestor in a specific time or place? Or are you attempting to solve a family history mystery? Take some time to think through these questions, because the more specific you can be about your goal, about what you're looking for and what you want to focus on, the more focused and efficient that your research will be, and you are more likely to be successful in your search. So do you know what it takes to make a smart research goal? And when I say smart, I want them to be smart as we think about, but also I want to use smart in all caps as kind of a brain tickler for you so that you can be very specific with your goals. Now, you may be familiar with SMART goals from other occupations. The first time I learned about SMART goals was when I worked in healthcare, guys. Many of you know that. And we always made SMART goals. I learned about them in physical therapy school. And I wrote, I can't imagine how many over the years as I worked in my physical therapy career. And I know other professions have these as well. But let's think about what it means from a genealogy perspective. Okay, these are the parts of a very good and a strong goal. Okay, they're smart. Smart goals are specific, they're measurable, they're actionable, they're realistic, and they're timely. Let's take a closer look at each of these letters. Now, for a SMART goal, the S stands for specific. Now, this part of your goal, I want you to think about being very specific. What is the specific information you want to find out? Keep it specific and keep it simple. Okay, you wanting to know what your ancestors' family line back to the old country is really too broad to tackle all at once. That's a very broad, long-term goal. You want something that's a little more short-term and that you can work on right now. That's a fantastic long-term goal, and maybe that's your ultimate big goal. But if you start there, you're going to be very overwhelmed very quickly. So keep them short, keep them specific. Okay, so here's an example of what might be some specific information that I would want to look. This is actually, let me introduce you to Emma Howard on the left here. Her maiden name was Thomas. And so one of the very specific goals I had for her was to determine who her father was. Now, that's a very specific goal in part of my overall research goals of researching that Thomas side of the family all the way out, back as far as possible. But I can't get back far if I don't know who her father is. So my very specific part of the goal for her, what I want to find out is who her father was. Now, another one might be, as you guys, if you followed me for any time, know that I research a lot on the White family from North Carolina and Virginia. And it's very tedious at times because it is such a common name here in colonial North Carolina and Virginia. So one of the very specific pieces of that puzzle, of those research project that I had, was a very specific goal. I needed to determine if John White of Surry County, North Carolina, was the same John White of Caswell County, North Carolina. And I could even be more specific and add in dates for that as well. Very specific research project within that larger White family genealogy project. Okay, so that kind of gives you an idea. Think about very specifically, what do you need to know in that next step that you're working on? Now, M stands for measurable. So along with specific, your goals need to give you a way to measure what you're doing. So if your goal is to research, say, Wake County court records, that's very general, but a more measurable goal to research would be research Wake County Court of Pleas and Quarter records from 1800 to 1812. Okay, so I've given it a very specific time period. I don't need to research all of the 1800s. I have a very specific time period that I'm looking for, and therefore I add that to my goal. I know I can start at the 1800s. When I get to 1812, I have finished that part of the goal. So very measurable, very specific. Okay, so the A stands for actionable. Now, is your goal actionable? Okay, what will you do to achieve your goal? So in other words, this is what you're going to do as well. So will you work 30 minutes a day to achieve that goal? Will you only work on Monday, Wednesday, Fridays after the kids are in bed? So do you have a very specific time period that, or a time period that you can work? How are you going to achieve this goal? Maybe it's actionable only when you visit Richmond, Virginia for your family vacation, that you have some time that you can act on it then. So think about just kind of how you're going to achieve that goal. What kind of action can you take to achieve that goal? Now, R stands for realistic. Is your goal realistic? And this is actually really important, guys. Can it be completed? So if the action part of your plan calls for researching county records from 1800 to 1812, but those records do not exist, maybe they didn't survive, then your goal is going to fail. It's not a realistic goal. So make sure you're setting research goals, including researching certain records, that they actually exist or that the research can actually be done. And that last T, or that T, stands for time or timely. What kind of deadline do you have for getting your work done? Now, it's perfectly okay for this deadline to be self-imposed. Okay, this will help keep you on track, because if you just say, okay, well, I'll get it done sometime, this is what I want to do, this is how I'm going to do it, but you never give yourself a time period to do it in, you are less likely to achieve that goal. You're less likely to progress in your research. But if you put a time on it, or even put it on the calendar, then you are much more likely to keep that appointment with yourself for that research project. You're much more likely to be successful in completing that research project and making progress. And it's perfectly okay to reassess these time periods and adjust your goal as needed. So maybe the time period didn't work because your family was sick, or you became ill and you had a cold and you couldn't do it, or you couldn't travel for whatever reason. That's okay. But as long as you are assessing that and reassigning it to another time period, that's important. That'll keep you going. Okay, so let's go back to the original goal that I had to find Emma Thomas Howard's father. So my SMART goal for her could look like something like this. So by October 31st of 2018, I will search the Moore County probate records online at Family Search from 1855 to 1885 for possible father candidates of Emma D. Thomas. So you can see this is very specific. I'm looking for possible father candidates for Emma. I have given myself a due date. This is completely self-imposed. I will tell you that. That was a completely self-imposed time date, but I needed to put it there so that I would get it done. It was very specific about the types of records. Those Moore County probate records, they're online, they're at Family Search. I gave myself a specific time period. It is very actionable because those records do exist. It's realistic because they exist, and it's very actionable. I did not put on here, but I certainly could have said familysearch.org or, well, actually I did. I put it on here online, so I will be at my computer doing that. I don't have to travel to do this. If I had wanted to do this at their courthouse, I could have changed it up and said, we'll research the Moore County probate records at the Moore County Courthouse and put a date there as well. So that's the example of a very specific goal that I made for her. It was all part of a process in that overall Thomas family research, but this was a very important piece because without determining her father, this line will never progress back. Okay, so now it's your turn. I want you to pick a research project that you've been working on. And I want you to write 1 or 2 SMART goals for your research project. So one is perfectly fine if you've got, like I did with Emma, maybe you have a couple different projects ongoing. Write some very specific SMART goals. And with those when you put your time period on there, and you make it a timely action, put it on your calendar. Again, self-impose a deadline on yourself, put it on your calendar, and keep your appointment. Okay, guys, I am really excited about this. I know this is a total geek out when it comes to talking about research goals because they are so important. I know it can be tedious at times, but if you take time at the front end of your research to think through what it is you are really trying to achieve and how you can achieve it and when you can achieve it, you are going to be more successful and more efficient in your research. Okay, guys, enjoy that particular piece of this part of the lesson. I look forward to hearing about your SMART goals. If you want to send me an email or put them on our Facebook page, I would love to just see what you've got and help you out there if possible. Now, if you need more genealogy tips, just want to read some more good genealogy articles, head over to the website, Are You My Cousin? It's at lisalisten.com and explore what's there for you there. Okay, guys, I look forward to joining you for our next lesson, lesson number 3. Have a good day, guys. Bye.